Hello, everyone. Major Shadowbaka here. Today we're going to talk about the Iran war ceasefire. But first, a quick sort of note slash update. I'm trying a slightly different format for this sort of thing, hoping that this will help me kind of keep my thoughts rather streamlined. I don't have so much breaks in my train of thought. This might help, it might not. I don't know. We're going to find out together. But my idea is like while I'm doing like another task, in this case, driving on my way home at the end of the day, I can kind of express my thoughts in a quick, condensed format. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to find out. But anyway, so starting off in the news currently, we've got this big Iran war ceasefire that's going on. Is the ceasefire still in effect? Was it ever a real thing to begin with? Is it just part of, Trump's imagination to hallucinate the damn thing? Who knows? But I kind of have a thought here. We'll see how totally outlandish it is or not. I think my first reaction was that he's totally full of shit because, that's been the track record so far. Both the president, the secretary of defense, and secretary of war, whatever the fuck you want to call them, and the top line U.S. spokespeople in this entire affair that is the Iran war has been very untrustworthy or just full of shit. Like, that's basically the spectrum you're operating in. And so originally I was just like, it's just something to manipulate the markets again, which, I'm having a ball with. I'm just like, it's made me money every time around. But whatever. Figured that's what it is, market manipulation. However, it looked like it was at least, there was some basis in truth with the way that the Iranians, were acting, behaving, using Pakistan as some sort of mediator. It appears to me, and this is not a totally original thought here, that it seems like both Pakistan and China, through back channels or otherwise, have sort of pressured Iran to an extent to at least give this ceasefire a try. Now, when it became clear that this might actually be something substantial, I knew immediately that it would fall apart. I gave it to the end of the week. So I was like, I guess that would have been last night. Or, I guess that would have been Tuesday night. I gave it to the end of the week, which apparently I was a bit optimistic. I figured after 2 or 3 days, Israel would kind of get their, reorganize their shit, and then they'll go back to bombing. Because in the original Pakistan Post document, whatever the fuck you want to call it, Lebanon, the war in Lebanon, the war against Hezbollah by Israel was clearly listed in this plan. Because the Iranians, this has been a core part of their proposal. They're trying to prevent wars on them and their allies or proxies or however you want to call them in the entire region. Otherwise, the whole point is moot. They're trying to bring a conclusion to this conflict, and however means they can manage that. And so it would make no sense for them to exclude Lebanon, which they clearly did not. So, anyway, Israel, immediately after, they start bombing in fact, they don't just start bombing Hezbollah positions again. Apparently, there was a bit of a pause at the outset with the United States, or them following in the footsteps of the United States. But then they unleashed this giant bombing campaign, big fucking huge one of the biggest in the entire war. And then they celebrate the fact, and then they're just like, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. Hezbollah and Lebanon was clearly not part of the ceasefire. So it's like, leave it to the fucking Israelis to blow up any sort of chance of peace. But not trying to get into, why the Israelis did this or why the United States is acting the way it is. I'm actually trying to nail down what is the Iranians' plans? And what are they after here? What is the deal? I don't actually think, just taking the Iranians, both the foreign minister, the new Ayatollah himself, and just general people that are in the chain of operations in the Iranian government and the Iranian military, they seem very reluctant to do this, because we have We have no expectation that this is going to work because there is no trust. They literally said there's no trust towards the opposing party because they have demonstrated that numerous times that they will just break their word. Their word is worth nothing. That being the United States and Israel in this instance. And they are correct as far as I'm concerned. That's my assessment. That's why my original assessment is that there will be no ceasefire because it doesn't make any sense. From the Iranian perspective, why would you try to negotiate a ceasefire? Like, just because, like, oh, well, the Iranians are going to be totally destroyed. Well, that's the starting point. Because every single negotiation, every single ceasefire or pause of this conflict, they just get attacked again, preemptively, on the next round. So it's like, there's no point in this. There is no point in pausing. And also, this is the same group of people that just preemptively struck your government, killed your leaders. The people in this decision-making apparatus that are still around, they all have, like, family members that were just murdered by the people that they're supposed to be negotiating with. So you could see why this might be a little bit prickly. Like, I don't really see the point of this, to be perfectly honest, but whatever. So I'm thinking, this is my own headcanon here, could be totally removed from reality, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the Chinese, which, it's rumored that they're supplying intelligence. We definitely know that the Russians are, because, of course the Russians would. Behavior is based on incentives, and you've incentivized the Russians with what's going on in the Ukraine war to share as much intelligence and help the Iranians as much as possible, to basically bite the Americans in the ass with what they're, it's basically returning the favor with Ukraine. Regardless of what you think about Ukraine and who's the rightful actors and blah, 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 the Russians are incentivized in this instance and have the capability to help the Iranians against the Americans. So that's what they're going to do. The Chinese, I also think, are probably providing intelligence. Whether or not they're providing material support, I don't know. And again, this is just some random retard of the internet. I'm not in the know. I'm not in an inner circle when it comes to any of these things or any of these people. This is just speculation. You can take it and leave it. But I feel like the scenario that kind of makes sense with me is that Pakistan with China, or through, China through Pakistan, maybe some, I don't think Pakistan's a principal actor here, have basically like, look, give these negotiations a chance, just give them a little bit of an olive branch, a tiny one. Now, obviously, if you look at the Iranians' 10-point plan and the United States' 15-point plan, there is no common ground between these. It's the same problem. This is why the Ukraine war is still going. The two sides are so far apart on what they believe they can get out of the negotiation that there's basically, it's destined to fail. So I don't understand the point of this. Like, every one of these negotiations that are supposed to take place in Ukraine, it was just like, every time it's like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The Russians haven't reached their war goals, and they're perfectly happy to continue the war. The Ukrainians haven't reached their war goals, and they're perfectly happy to continue the war. Like, that's it. That's the scenario. It's done. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the material conditions on the ground are. It's like, until those things are closer together, or until you have a collapse on one side or the other, the war is not going to end. Ceasefire is meaningless. The negotiations are meaningless, and I would apply the same logic here to Iran. So I'm wondering, China kind of plays, sometimes they're kind of get hard to read on. They typically do not directly involve themselves in things like this. The Russians, if they'd like to involve themselves, materially they're a bit too involved with their own affairs to help the Iranians that much. At least, militarily, the Iranians are holding their own. Their war objectives that they set out for themselves, they're holding together fairly well. It's like, I don't really, unless, I don't know, I don't want to get too off on a tangent here. I don't think the Iranians think the negotiations will work. The way that they've acted, and from their own words, it sounds like they don't think they're worth bothering with, yet they are bothering with them. So either this is some weird psyop that I don't understand, or there's another actor on their side pressuring them to some extent to at least give this a try, which might give China, which would be one of the large party here, the ability to step in with some sort of, now maybe this is not material, like material assistance or something, but to kind of dip a toe in a little bit, because it gives them, as stupid as this sounds, particularly with the events of the last few months or the last few years for that matter, it gives them justification diplomatically to do this. Because it's like, look, the Iranians, they, like, keep in mind, like, we're gonna chuck the Israeli position on what the hell this war is about. It was like, it was a preemptive attack on Iran. An undeclared war, you attack them with a surprise, like, you try to decapitate their government. So, this is a war of aggression against Iran. And Iran, in this instance, is allowing some sort of negotiations for a ceasefire, a pause, so that peace might be achieved. Now, we all know that peace isn't going to be achieved. But the way that this looks is, even after this fucking obvious act of aggression, there is still, the Iranians will give a little leeway. And what the Israelis will do, I don't think they, like, we're going to do it. I mean, this already basically happened, is the Israelis will take that fucking rope and run with it, which is exactly what they've done, because that's their behavior every single time. Anytime there's a peace treaty, anytime there's a ceasefire, the Israelis always break it. So that's what they're going to do this time. And then the Iranians will be forced to respond, and then the U.S. will pretend like the Iranians started up the war again. But for everybody else that's not the United States and Israel, they obviously see what's going on. That's why most of Europe just has checked out of this whole fucking ordeal, because we want nothing to do with this shit show. You know, this is France, this is Italy, this is Spain, this is England now. So it's like, yeah, they don't want anything to do with this, because this is bad. Like optics don't really matter on the world stage for the most part. But in this case, it does, particularly because we can't seem to reach our military objectives, regardless of what the State Department, Secretary of War, and the president himself likes to say. We are not meeting our war objectives. So, I mean, I don't know. So I'm wondering if the Chinese, this is my headcanon. The Chinese are pressuring them into this to give this a shot. It's obviously going to fail, and that will allow China to at least tacitly back them to some extent. Now, whether or not, I think they're already providing intelligence, but maybe this will give them some material support. I don't know. China's an important factor here, because pushing the Iranians for peace doesn't even make sense from the Chinese side of things, because it's like this is working in their favor for the moment. Now, whether or not that continues, I don't know, but it's like the Iranian war playing out the way it does for an extended period of time, I think is advantageous to them, because all the material, all the stockpiles, and all the crap that we've stockpiled to contain them is currently being burned in the Iranian desert. It's being burned over the rest of the Middle East. Interceptors, Tomahawks, these stupid fucking stealth missiles that we've apparently used 75% of our stockpile of. It's also demonstrated that while the U.S. Navy is quite formidable in its capabilities, they're currently not anywhere near fucking Iran's coastline. They ain't touching that shit with a 10-mile fucking pole. It's because they know if they get into a tight place like that where they cannot maneuver in range of almost all of their munitions, the U.S. ships are going to get hit, and they're going to get hit hard. Just like all of our bases in the region are getting hit fucking hard. So, yeah, the Navy wants nothing to do with this. There's a new intelligence report out now that was rumored about a week ago. It's like, yeah, there's a new CIA intelligence assessment. It's just like, yeah, we probably haven't even taken out half their own launchers at this point. So this 90% fucking shit it obviously doesn't make any sense, because their missile launch capability is clearly very intact. I don't mean partially intact, it's very fucking intact. We're hitting the same sites 4, 5, 6 fucking times, and you're still getting launches from those areas. So it's like this war is not going how the U.S. is trying to say it's going. Now, of course, Iran is getting hit really, really hard. Like, I mean, you know, it's not like they're not taking any damage. Like, they're getting hit fucking hard from this. But that also means their win conditions, like, are that much more entrenched in stone. They have to come out of this war on top because it's an existential threat to them. And we've incentivized the Iranian population, the civilians, that were supposed to rise up and overthrow this regime, which was very unlikely to start with. Definitely not going to happen now, because you opened it by killing over 100 children. Whether or not it was accident or not, the Iranian government can spin that as gold-tier, diamond-encrusted fucking propaganda. You can't make that level of propaganda. Like, you're so, like, the juiciest piece, because they're not lying. It doesn't matter if it was a targeting error in the opening hour of the war while you were pretending to go to negotiate and killing their government. You managed to kill 100 children, and it also happens to be the children of a lot of the people that are in the decision-making apparatus on the Iranian side now. So, do you think that they're willing to negotiate with you and they're gonna fight till they're fucking dead? You literally killed their family. So, yeah. That's when this makes sense on the face of it. It doesn't make sense that the Iranians would do this. I don't know. The Israelis obviously are very mad about the ceasefire. The Americans, we know that we need one, because we are rapidly losing control of the situation. I don't think Trump's fucking bluster bullshit had anything to do with the Iranian decision making process, because when he started threatening the end to their civilization, they just said fuck off and just ended. They basically cut contact. They were just like, we're not talking to you anymore, which means when they reinstated contact through their Pakistani mediaries, or that one fucking guy in Saudi Arabia, I forget his fucking name because it's really long and I don't speak Arabic. When they reinitiated contact, that means something changed on their side. The rhetoric hasn't changed. It was literally apocalyptic rhetoric already. And so you either have to have a major internal shift, which doesn't look like that took place, or you had a third party that talked to them. And so I think that party is China, because Pakistan was already involved in this. We'll see if I was wrong. We'll see if I was right. Maybe we'll never know. But it will be very interesting to watch how China plays this going forward. And I think they were a principal component of what has just happened. Just to wrap this up, the ceasefire is not going to last. It's basically over now. Maybe they'll patch it up. Maybe the Iranians will give them another little olive branch, and the Israelis will, of course, spit in their fucking face like they always do. But, yeah, the ceasefire will end. A deal will not be reached because there's just too much latitude between the two positions. The war will resume, but watch China. See what China does. All right, anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this format works. I don't know. This might be total, utter uselessness. We'll see. This is Major Shanabaga signing off. I hope everyone has a pleasant evening.